Cops in Texas refused to help Biden aides as they were pleading for help while Trump supporters were swarming them on the highway and essentially putting their lives in danger. Now, this has to do with campaign stops that a Biden bus was doing in Texas as they were on the highway in late October. They were swarmed by Trump supporters in vehicles who were trying to drive them off the road. There was a minor collision as a result. And so the Biden aides were calling 911, begging for help. And now, thanks to a federal lawsuit against the police department and also the Trump supporters, we're learning what the cops were saying, what the conversations were like between the 911 dispatcher and the very police that they were asking for help from. So in one transcribed recording, Matthew Dainzer, a San Marcos police corporal on duty the day of the incident, refused to provide an escort when recommended by another jurisdiction. "No, we're not going to do it," he told a 911 dispatcher, according to an amended filing for this lawsuit. He also said, "We will close patrol, but we're not going to escort a bus." The amended filing also states that in those audio recordings, law enforcement officers privately laughed and joked about the victims and their distress. He quipped that the Biden bus should, quote, "drive defensively and it'll be great," end quote. So he's not the only bad cop in this story. There are other police within the San Marcos Police Department who are named in this lawsuit. San Marcos Assistant Police Chief Brandon Winkerwerder also did not order an escort or assistance, the complaint alleges. Instead, he told officers to close patrol the area near the university. Also, an unidentified person referred to the Democrats as a derogatory slang term for someone who is mentally disabled in a group text among San Marcos officers, including Brandon Winkerwerder.
All right, I'm gonna read you guys graphic 8 to show you how dangerous this is. Okay, so it wasn't like, hey, they're overly worried, what's the big deal? They're driving 25 in a tiny little road. There's nobody in actual danger, and there's a couple of Trump guys next to him. So what, right? No, they were in actual danger. Well, number one, you saw the video, and you see the trucks swerving, etc. Right? The pickup trucks, and they're clear. And then they get in front of them. When they get in front of them, well, then they can slam on the brakes at any time. It gets super dangerous. But I'm going to read you here from HuffPost. In one collision, a Biden campaign car was videotaped being forced out of a lane by a pro-Trump trucker as surrounding vehicles were traveling some 70 miles per hour. A man who identified himself as the driver in that crash boasted about slamming that effort on Facebook. So the cops know how incredibly dangerous it is, and they just say, we're not gonna do our job because you guys are liberals and we're right-wing nuts, and so we only protect right-wingers. We don't protect any of the other citizens. In fact, we enjoy you being targeted and assaulted and intimidated and terrorized. We enjoy that. Well, every cop involved should obviously be fired because they told you they don't want to protect all the citizens. If they're not fired, which almost certainly they won't, that tells you, well, in San Marcos, if you're not a right winger, be really, really careful. The cops sympathize with terrorists.
In other words, if you happen to be someone living in this area who has political views that are different from these cops, from this police department, well, you're gonna have to pay. Your tax money is gonna help pay for the salaries for these people, but they're not gonna protect you. And look, this isn't just a problem in San Marcos. This is a problem throughout the country. What do you do when police openly, transparently say that they will not enforce the law, right? We've seen that happen in regard to vaccine mandates. We've seen that happen, I mean, in so many different contexts, not just in regard to Biden staffers who need help. But you have cops saying, no, I'm not gonna enforce this law because I disagree with it, and there are no consequences that come along with that. They just say it knowing that there won't be any consequences, and that leads to just a complete breakdown in society. Because you don't have law enforcement. 100%. You don't have people who are protecting or serving. You have people who get to decide. They're the judge, jury, and in many cases, the executioner. That is a problem. Society can't function under that kind of system. And the real question is, I mean, you have Democrats in power right now, right? What is the Department of Justice doing to investigate these cases? Nothing, right? We have a special panel looking into what happened on January 6th, and all they're focusing on is, oh, well, what did Trump do? And what kind of conversation did Mark Meadows have? And look, that stuff is important, but there is obviously an issue with law enforcement in America. But they're not really looking into that, are they?
It happens all across the country. In New York, the cops kept saying that they're not going to do their jobs. Oh my God, if we can't beat up black people and stop and frisk and do all this stuff, well, then we're going to do, they would basically, they stopped arresting people for a while, these de facto movements. Look, if you're a Democratic mayor of a large city and the cops say that they won't do their job, it is super simple. You fire them, grow a pair. Grow a pair. Did we elect you or didn't we? Fire them, replace them with other cops who actually are willing to do the job that they have. And they'll say, oh, well, their union is gonna sue us. Well, great, I'll see you in court. We got lawyers. And if you're in the city of New York, you're in any of these cities, be willing to pay that bill. Okay, we'll go through the whole litigation and you'll come and say, oh, no. As a cop, I don't have to do my job. Okay, go ahead, make that case. I don't care, but get him out. You get him out. It's like the Klan is the cops, and we're not going to stand for it, guys. And don't let them hide under this stupid idea of, oh yeah, we're just protecting freedom. Remember how they had the Trump parade with the boats? They didn't interfere with any other boats. They made these huge waves, which then sunk a couple of their own boats. But well, we don't care. Have all the boat parades you want, have all the truck parades you want. No one cares. You think we care about micromanaging your life? Hey, right-winger idiots, we don't care about you at all. Other than actually we want to help you. We want to give you better health care, better wages, etc. But you can do all your protests that you want. We don't care. But when you run people off the road, that actually endangers our lives. And that is when the cops need to do something. And if they don't, they're saying, no, you live in a right-wing terror state and we will not protect you. Democrats, when you're in charge, if you don't take action, just not to oppress right-wingers. Nobody wants to, that's insane. If you start oppressing based on political opinions, the left wing is going to get oppressed the most. I don't want that. I just want you to protect the citizens, the bare minimum.
Can we also just note that the right wing in America keeps claiming that they're the ones who get censored by the left, that they're the ones who have to deal with the intolerant left who don't allow them to engage in their freedom of expression and their political activity as a result of how intolerant they are, that they're constantly censored. Really, I haven't seen the left try to drive campaign buses off the road violently. I haven't seen left-wing police refuse to help right-wingers in their moment of need, right? The Biden campaign canceled 3 different political events, 3 different political stops, or campaign stops, I should say, in Texas as a result of this incident, right? But I mean, all of the individuals out there who have made careers out of pretending like they've been somehow discriminated against because of their political views, they're not upset about this. They're not raising concern about this at all. This isn't a problem at all.
And by the way, politically motivated conspiracies to disrupt a campaign or intimidated supporters is a violation of the law. Do you know which law it violates? The Ku Klux Klan Act. And were they intimidated? Absolutely. They were driven off the road. Did they cancel campaign events because they were worried their lives were in danger? Yes, absolutely. They violated the KKK Act, and the cops still did nothing because they empathize with the people doing the intimidating. They empathize with the people who are being violent on their watch. There is no rule of law when you have a situation like this. If the Republicans win again, guys, at the national level, good night, Irene. They activate all their vigilantes, the cops stand by, the Democrats are the weakest party in the history of America. They're gonna steamroll us. Right now, poll out, we're gonna talk about it later in the show, 30% of Republicans say it's time for violence. And the cops aren't gonna stop them. And now Democrats are scared of their own shadow. They don't stop them.
No, Cenk,
and when the
don't
Republicans
worry.
get in charge, they're gonna give them a green light.
Don't worry, corporate Democrats are doing a real good job in ensuring that everything you just outlined will in fact happen.
I'm telling you.
Complete failures. That's what corporate Democrats are.
Right now, I got it at 50% chance that we lose democracy, period, if a Republican wins another national presidential election. They're gonna run roughshod and they're gonna intimidate the hell out of everybody. We got another story later in the show. Local school boards, they're all resigning because they're getting death threats nonstop. That's terrorism. It's like putting a burning cross on their lawn. And what are the cops doing about it? Generally speaking, anywhere from nothing to not much. Thanks for watching the Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.